Hello, 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 everybody. It is Stevie Aisha Mills. I am excited to bring you another episode of the Conversation with Stevie. And today is an extra special day. You know, I love all my guests. I truly, truly do. But when you have the opportunity to watch somebody and work with somebody and to connect with them and know them personally and professionally, that makes all the difference. And today is that day. Onawa M. Allen, a native of Roanoke, Virginia, presents her passion to promote women's health and wholeness. While serving as an assistant athletic trainer with the WNBA Phoenix Mercury, Onawa was able to see deeper into the pains of women and understand another level of her life's purpose to help women identify and heal from life's hurt. An ACE certified health coach and therapeutic exercise specialist, she puts her stamp on life with her signature coaching style with one of her two companies, Virtuous Health Today, LLC. Education from Virginia Tech and Arizona State University culminates with her experience in sports and health and adds to the vast knowledge and compassion to see others grow towards optimal health and wholeness, physically, emotionally, and most importantly, spiritually. Beyond her professional experience, she is propelled by and committed to her God-given assignment to write, dance, teach, and heal as a sought-after speaker, writer, and worship dancer. Awesome. Hey, Onawa, how are you?
Hey, Stevie, thank you for that introduction.
Yay. Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited that you are here today for a lot of reasons, because I truly appreciate you as a person. That's most important. And because I appreciate what you do for women. And I've been blessed to be part of that this year, and I've been able to see you in action. And so we read the stellar bio, and we saw your educational background and your professional background. But what do you think most importantly sums you up?
I think that last piece, healing for myself, for other people. Like I truly want people to be in a place of wholeness. From in every area of their lives, and that's my heart's passion, is to deliver people to that place or guide people to that place.
Awesome. And so wholeness, what does that bring about? When you think about that word, what does it bring about for you?
The wholeness to me is actually first an inner understanding. Like right now when you ask me that question, I'm seeing a wheel turning. But the wheel has to turn and be connected at the inside. From the inside, when you see the spokes coming out of it, there has to be a center piece that's holding everything together. And that wholeness is connecting every spoke at the inside so that the structure can stand, the structure can function. And so to me, that's our lives. So our centerpiece, that core understanding, our core truths, to really know our core truths and be able to identify when we're off, and feel those places. And to be at a place in God where that every degree that turns, that wheel turns, is fulfilled, is being guided by God's Spirit. And that wholeness, that whole piece, moving and functioning at the same time, and none of those spokes being disconnected from that center core. So that's wholeness to me.
Awesome. And so that is a great point, because recently, you know, the theme of your event was centerpiece, and we talked about some of the various things, but we didn't really dig deep into what that meant to you and why you had that as a theme. What was the reason behind that?
That's kind of been my theme for the year on a lot of things that I've done, because the journey of my life right now, I had to reconnect to that center. And when I really began to connect the dots for myself and reconnect with my core truth and my vision or my desires, and to see how far away I was, I'm like, how many other people are in that position? How many other people give way to something that doesn't agree with our core truth, and what damage that does, and how far off our course we can get because we've gone so far away from our core truth. And having the ability, one, to recognize what our core truths are and reconnect or connect with them, and then begin to operate and function in that to restore that wholeness or regain that wholeness or even maintain that wholeness if a person is there. So identifying with that center piece, that piece that's at the core of our existence, so that we can function in a full capacity in life. Because if we have all these external things happening, but our core isn't connected, or we're not connected to our core, things become off balance. And it's harder to get back to center when you don't know where that center is. So finding that center piece is very important. So that's kind of my why to all of that, those two simple words of centerpiece.
Awesome. And so what are some ways that we can discover, like when you're speaking about core, we know like core values, but what if we don't know what's essential to us? How can we begin to uncover that process to get there?
It's taking time to listen to yourself, to listen to that inner voice, to listen. If it's prayer, for me, it's prayer and meditation and hearing and just sitting before God to hear what his plans are for me and let that resonate with me and get those directions. So one is taking time and getting to a quiet place. And it doesn't mean going off somewhere. If that's what it takes, that's fine. But it's a daily processing, and that your ear and your spirit is open to hear, so that when the noise starts to happen, distractions or busyness, or not necessarily unnecessary things, but things that are in our lives that fit somewhere else in the pie or fit somewhere else along the spoke, to stay connected and to know that voice. So number one, we have to know ourselves. Number two is begin to recognize what it takes to maintain that centerpiece. What it takes. Do I need a vacation? How often do I need it? What's the frequency that I need to take a break? What's the frequency that I need to interact with this set of people or that set of people? What brings me balance? So knowing what it is that we like, knowing it, what does it take for me to tick? What does it take for me to have that balance? What happens when I get off balance? How long can I stay in that state of unbalance? So really knowing where we are and what we need.
Awesome. I love it because I know that so many people have been off balance. Like, I don't know about you, but I know that for so many people I've talked to, August was a hard month. And I feel like in this month that we're in, getting back to that integral center part and peace is great. And I think that sometimes we just got to be recalibrated, right? And also an image of what's going on now with so many people between these storms and tornadoes and hurricanes losing power. So many people have lost power. And to me, I always think about life in easy bites of things that I'm like, okay, this is how it works. And so when you were speaking, it reminded me of losing power because, the centerpiece is always there. Like the electricity is always there, but you might not have access to it, right? And that is what it is, what I saw. And I think that throughout our lives, we have so many places of that, but we have to stay, like you're saying, to the core. We just have to have that so that we could go back to the source. And so I appreciate that we're talking about this, because I know that there are so many people who are just like, I don't know how to get back there sometimes. And I want to talk about the journey. I want to talk about the journey that it takes. And I want to know, have you always been like this amazing woman who is just so like just calm, cool, and collected, or has there been some turbulence along the way? And I know the answer to this, but the people listening who may not have ever heard your voice before, they don't see it, because it seems the together piece is always there. So if you would tell us a little bit about the journey there.
Oh, it's been a long one, and there have been plenty of storms, plenty. Wow, I don't even know where to begin. I'll start. Let's see how quick I can sum everything up. So I am Native American and African American. Grew up in Roanoke, Virginia, where there were not very many that I could identify with physically. Wasn't necessarily looking for that, but that became a source of contention growing up as a young girl. Little girl with long hair, light-skinned girl with long hair. That's how I was labeled and referred, not understanding that was part of my makeup and part of who I was. Other people not understanding that. So that began to, the effects of that, or the repercussions or the consequences of my look, began to cause issues for me. And, oh, she thinks she's cute, she thinks she's this, she thinks she's that, whatever, not understanding I had nothing to do with how I came out. And being bullied with that, I mean, from like kindergarten to on up. And so I began to dislike who I was, because who I was made somebody else feel uncomfortable. And I began to shrink. And I was tall, so I stuck out even more. I was always on the back row with the boys on school pictures. So there was nothing I could do to get to shrink physically, or not to stand out physically. So I tried to just play the back row, but I would tend to excel in whatever I did, not trying to beat anybody, but just doing my best as my parents taught us. And that, again, pushed me out more. And so that was one thing. But with that, not only did it draw negative attention from females, it also drew negative attention from males as well, unwanted attention. I was molested as a young girl for quite a few years, so that jealousy, being the target of jealousy from females, I was like, you don't want this. You wouldn't want this, because it draws things that you wouldn't want to go through. So on the other side of that, I'm battling both places. So that was a whole storm that started early in life. At 9, I was going to church. I would go by myself. The bus would come get me. And one day I was like, there has to be something better than that, better than this. And I accepted Christ. My heart was just pulled as a little girl, no prompting, no nothing, just my heart connected to God. And that's when things that particular storm began to die down. And that is that core center holding place that began to anchor my life from a young time of 9. I mentioned this Saturday at the age of 12. I began to have lots of joint pain, just this excruciating pain and swelling in my hands. My hands would turn blue. One side of my body would swell up. And so long story short, they thought I was going to develop lupus within 10 years. So I dealt with a lot of that pain for probably till I was about 26. So a long haul, 14 years with that. And thankfully, I have not developed lupus in its fullness. I'm very, 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 very grateful and thankful for that. But at that point, I decided as long as I kept moving, if I could just keep moving, I felt like the lupus couldn't catch me. And as much as I could, I moved. I was athletic, but by 10th grade, I could no longer compete, so I found myself on the other side of the field, and as a manager or trainer or whatever, which took me into college. And I found myself as an athletic trainer, still dealing with some of the pains and everything. The turbulence hit during college and relationships that were one in particular, very turbulent, and again kind of stripped me of that core piece and caused me to question again my value, my worth, or who I was and what I could offer and why I wasn't who I was enough, and lots of different things. And so through some external things that I really didn't have anything to do with, they kind of made my path go west, head west, and I found myself in Phoenix. Phoenix was a good time. That was some peace out there. And the particular word that I received ongoing was depart from evil, do good, seek peace, and pursue it. So that word anchored me, the peace. Seek peace and pursue it, to go after it. So peace is something for us to go after. It's not just something that comes and blows through, but peace is something that we need to actively pursue and seek. And so that means that we need to be aware of states that aren't peaceful and to do whatever it takes for us to get to that state of peace, to pursue it, to make effort to go after it, to abound towards peace. So that has anchored me. Got married a little later in life. I was 31. Clock was ticking, tick, 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 the whole biological clock. But ended up having to wait anyway. I had 3 miscarriages, 3 years in a row. That was quite devastating. And again, bringing my purpose, my worth, my ability, I could do all of these things academically, professionally, whatever I put my hand to, it seemed like it would work. But why couldn't my body produce children, what I thought as a woman I was designed to do? And so that played heavily on my thought process of myself. However, I knew that God had named them, given me the names of my children even before we got married. And I held on to that. I held on to the piece of the word that God gave me in those quiet times when I write and get my direction, I get my assignments. Those are the things that anchor me and allow me to keep my peace when everything else around me seems turbulent and the storms are raging, but I have a word to anchor me. I have specific directions for my life to anchor me and let those storms pass. And so here I am now, and I have 2 beautiful children. Did have another miscarriage in 2016, and that was hard. That was very hard. My father passed. That was March. Turned 40 March 11th. Woke up to a miscarriage. Matter of fact, it was the day that I was supposed to speak, and woke up to a miscarriage the next day. And I was so ready for 40, and then that hit, and I was like, wow, 40, really? This is what I have to look forward to. And then my father passed last December, and that was a whole nother process. But I made decisions in my life so that I wouldn't have regret with my care and my time with him, So having that peace, maintaining that peace, is making sure that we can look back on our lives and we've made intelligent decisions where we've sat before God and hear directions, so that when storms come or when storms pass, we can look back and say, I did what I was assigned to do. That brings us peace. And I'm a daddy's girl, and I did not want to look back and say, I wish I would have done this for him. I wish I would have done that. When he passed, he and I both had peace. And that is a big part of it. So in our decision-making process is to make those decisions so that we don't have to live with regret, because that robs us of peace. And then when we think about it in the pursuing of peace, it's future-oriented because it helps us to make decisions along the way that will not disturb our peace, even when storms come. So those are synopses of my storms. So no, I have not been a storm-free person. Yes, there have been storms that come and rock you for a minute, but I've been able to snap back to that center peace, to that center place that anchors me. That pursuit of peace anchors me and allows me to weather the storms a little bit easier. So hopefully that answered that question.
Yes, and thank you so much for your transparency. That was awesome, and I vividly remember what happened in 2016. I remember that because I remember you reaching out to me because you were supposed to speak, but then I was like, Lord have mercy. I learned about your strength in that moment. I learned about your resilience in that moment, and that blessed me. And I know throughout that time, the things that you've been going through, we always go through things that are not meant for us, right?
Right.
But I feel like it's amazing when people see you and don't know any of the backstory, that they have not heard it. Then that is a testament of God, because nobody would ever know, and that's God's protection and grace around you, because you do walk in such a bold place. And I love that I got to, interact with your daughter the other day, and I knew that was your child. I could see that the strength has come to her, because she was just like, I'm here, this is what I'm doing. And it was just a beautiful thing, like no fear. And I think that just was great, because she just walked up and saw what I was doing. It's like, I want to be part of it too. And just was great. And so I just really wanted to pinpoint those things, because even though in the midst of the storms that we have in life, that is that centerpiece that is graced by God, and that we have to go through these things in order to get to the next moment. I think sometimes people overlook what life is. We are always chasing something, right? In life, you're taught to be the best, do this, achieve that, go get that. But I think if we get grounded and get back to the center piece, then we will live the life that we're chasing right now without having all these things. And what do you think about that?
That's true. Like, again, going back to the scripture that I got, pursue peace. To pursue it. And peace means that there's nothing broken, nothing lacking, nothing missing. So if I'm in the pursuit of peace, all of those things that I'm going after are going to be contained in those. So if I'm pursuing a career path that's not anchored by peace, it's going to cause a storm. But if I pursue peace, my career path is going to be along that pursuit. So finding out those core truths of what we really want, what we really need, what's really at the center of our core. If someone's supposed to be or loves being a florist, but they're pursuing being, I don't know, a bricklayer, whatever, they're not going to have peace in that, because their heart and their peace and their creativity and energy abounds in being a florist. But somewhere we oftentimes get off of what our true passions and our true loves and our true heart's desires are linked to. And again, when we're pursuing peace, all of those things are going to line up. And all of what we need, what we desire, are going to be within that pursuing peace. And anything that doesn't bring us peace, we can then recognize it and not be distracted by it.
Amen. So this year you've stepped into a realm of hosting events in your event series, which I love. I absolutely love.
Yay.
Tell us about that.
Well, Abound, Women's Health and Wholeness Coaching Series. As you said, I am an American Council on Exercise Certified Health Coach and Therapeutic Exercise Specialist. Exercise science, human nutrition, food, and exercise, all of that is in my educational background. And as I've been doing it and my stint with the WNBA Phoenix Mercury, I saw that there was more to health. There was a wholeness piece that wasn't being addressed, and that was 20 years ago. So it's taken me 20 years to get to this place, to come back to what turned my career path, really, literally. And so in Abound, the dictionary meaning is to show up with more than enough. And I describe one track exercise that we used to have to do, a track drill called bounding, and we would have to get as far as we could using all of our power in one step. So in Abound, my vision of it is teaching us, and I'm learning along the way, is learning how to use our power to get as far as we can in one step, to show up with more than enough, to abound. And that just sticks out to me. It's an action word. It's a power word to me. It's a direction. It's a target. And so for us to abound, to show up with more than enough, that's where we want to be. And so the Abound Women's Health and Wholeness coaching series came from that. I've been doing it for a while with the small group coaching, but putting together a panel of women. I can't teach everything. I don't know everything. So to put together a panel of women who can speak to different points of life, again, bring that whole piece, and that we're able to reconnect and connect with new people and reconnect with old people and get to learn ourselves through other stories as well, other testimonies, and just bring forward a panel of women that can help usher us into a place closer to wholeness, to reconnect with that.
And so the next event is December 2nd, right?
Yes. And Abound has even gone to the desert. I did a couple of presentations there, and it's starting to pick up that we're expanding into other cities now as well. So we're going to abound all over the place. I'm excited.
I love it. And it's funny because when I am just seeing in the community now, someone actually asked me about it today, and they're like, when's the next one and how does it work? Because we haven't been able to make one. So people are it definitely is out here, and people are hearing it, and they're ready to abound as well. And it is just a great thing. It really, really is. And so I appreciate it, because that's what women need. They need to have an open space where they're able to just kind of get motivated, especially as we ascend into the next quarter of the year, and then the next year, because people, it's easy to lose steam along the way. It's easy to lose steam along the way, and it's just something where you could come to this amazing event, get amazing food. I mean, amazing people.
Awesome.
Yes. And yes, the food is great. I was told the caterers, blessed and highly flavored, not favorite, y'all, flavor.
Yeah,
I told them,
I said, that's so cute.
Yes, they're amazing, and I think just the events are great. So, yes, everybody should definitely be at the next one. All y'all listening, wherever you're from, you need to come to the next one. It's going to be dynamic. And so, I don't know, we are almost at the end of our time. Believe it or not, we are almost there. Time flies when you're having fun, and I definitely want to do a couple of things before we leave. The first thing is to make sure that, I always ask this question, and it is, Stevie, what is that one thing or a few things that we have to uncover today? So what would you say that we have to uncover before we leave out of here today?
Oh, okay. Identify what elements of our lives are off balance.
Amen. That's right.
In order to get back to balance, we have to understand where the extra weight is, or where the weight is distributed improperly. Everything may be there. There may not be something that needs to be removed, but it just may need to be balanced. Some things we can't get rid of, but we have to put them in proper place in order to maintain that balance. Are we giving ourselves too much to this or too little to that, and taking ourselves away from that centerpiece? What are the things that anchor us? So number 2, we have to find out what does anchor us, what centers us.
I want that to just sink in. I think it's imperative, because a lot of times we're so busy accomplishing, right? We're so busy getting to the end goal. We don't think about what happens in between. And so when you're getting to the end goal, you don't think about what is keeping me pushed forward to that goal. And that is important, because there are times in life when everything is not awesome and wonderful and peachy keen. There are times that you've got to go back to that well and get refreshed. And so it is imperative. It is imperative to understand what those things are, and to understand that those are your things. Those are your things, and nobody else can take that from you. Because sometimes people feel inadequacy when they are going through the process. And so I believe if we allow people to dictate our actions and what fulfills us, then there is even more depletion. What do you think?
Some of it was, I couldn't hear everything. But yet when you said the well, we need to make sure that the wells that we're drawing from are our wells. If we're dipping into someone else's well, thinking that's what we need, we still won't be satisfied. So when we're dictating our lives, and like you said, when we're pursuing things, we're going after this, we're going after that, why are we going after someone else's well? Are we trying to consume and be refreshed and refilled and satisfied by somebody else's well? we won't get the same result. And then we get frustrated and lose our peace because we're drinking from the wrong well. And by that I mean, are we dipping into something? Are we crossing lanes? Are we pursuing something that's not our assignment? Are we trying to draw from the wrong well? So we have to make sure that where we're getting our source and our power and our strength from and nourishment is the right source for us. Again, going back to those anchors, we have to know what anchors our peace. And we go drink after this, after something that we see, and it's like, oh, I want that, but still aren't satisfied in it because that's not for us. That's not our peacemaker.
Amen. And so what would be that one word that you think sums up today? Like, not even today on the conversation, but today in your life. What do you think that one word is the word that you stand on?
Peace.
I think that's a great one. I think really understanding that is great, and I think that it definitely is something that we need to concentrate on right now as we go through the next few months of 2017, because without peace, you have nothing. You have a consistent war going on in your head, and that stunts your growth, and you will not be able to go anywhere with that.
Right.
You will not be able to go anywhere or do anything. So definitely. And prior to us leaving today, I want you to go ahead and give your information of where we can stay connected to you and any parting words that you have.
Okay. I'm Onawa Allen, Virtuous Health Today, LLC, www.virtuoushealthtoday.com. Email connect@virtuoushealthtoday.com. I'm on Facebook, Virtuous Health Today, and where else am I? Pretty much stick to Facebook. So you can find me on my website, email, or Facebook, and be looking out for some upcoming events. What's the word of the day, or the word I want to leave you with? It's the scripture that anchored me. Depart from evil, do good, seek peace, and pursue it.
Yes, yes, yes. That is awesome. And everybody, you got to make sure that you connect with Onawa. You got to make sure that you're at a Bound or any other event where you hear this dynamic woman speak. Peace is definitely here today. I feel peaceful. I've been running around all day long. Wow. And I feel peace, and I appreciate that because I know that just the words that you've spoken today have blessed me in a way that I couldn't have done without you. And so I want to thank you so much for not only being here today, but all that you do and all that you are, and just being so transparent to be a vessel for other women and a conduit for other women to be heard and be motivated and be transformed. And so thank you. Thank you. Thank you
for this opportunity and trusting me to share in your show. I greatly appreciate it, and I love our connection.
Yes, ma'am. You are so welcome. And I have to tell you, I wore that pink shirt all day. I was like, I love it. That is one of the, I will be wearing that a lot more. So, and I did a Facebook Live and everything, and I love that shirt. So you all have to get your shirt too. Onawa is amazing.
Wow. Thank you.
We before we leave, we always do a spotlight on an entrepreneur here in the community, the worldwide community, not necessarily for the community, but this gentleman has written a book, and I think that it's a great place to kind of anchor our conversation today because it reminds me of you, Onawa, and the name of his book is A Daring Life, A Daring Life. And that reminds me of you so much, and it's self-improvement one dare at a time. And so his name is Atif J. Henderson, again, Atif J. Henderson, and he says about his book, A Daring Life is a self-help book for everyone looking to improve their lives. The book dares the reader to challenge themselves in various life-changing ways. And so I am daring myself in that book because I'm reading it, and it is an amazing book. And his email address, if anybody wants to connect with him, is AtifJHenderson@gmail.com. Again, AtifJHenderson@gmail.com, and ATIF is how you spell Atif. And so this has been a great conversation today. I am excited about what God has done today. I think that anytime somebody gets away from that centerpiece and needs to get recalibrated back, then just listen to this conversation, and it will get you there. It definitely will. I am Stevie Aisha Mills. I can be reached, if you know how to spell my first name, Stevii, Stevii. You can reach me at Stevie.com, all over social media, and, of course, here on The Conversation. And if you want to see me live, I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia, September 22nd for the last experience event in our series this year, September 22nd. Just go to Stevie.com and get your free ticket. But, yes, again, we are having a great conversation today, Onawa Allen with our guest. And if you don't feel peaceful, then you need to listen to it. This is one of the things I would say download, put in your personal development library, and just listen to the testimony that Onawa shared because it was truly life-changing. And I know I will be listening, have no repeat. You don't need to listen to all that hip-hop. Listen to something that's going to help you. All right, guys. You know I never say have a great day. Make it a great day. Don't have a great day. Why? Because you, and yes, you too, have the power to do so. Bye for now.
Thank you.